What's inside our toolkit? Module 1. Frameworks. The project will digitize heritage artifacts and make them available to the public through the use of 3D and XR technologies by creating 2 new collections on Europeana, one of Baroque sculptures by Francesco Robba and one of Baroque objects from Croatia and Slovenia. It will create a user-friendly app toolkit for 3D and XR digitization and offer online and on-site trainings about importance and use of technologies for digitization. The project will also create AR experiences for the public based on the 3D scans. The project consists of 4 distinctive work packages executed within 18 months that involve cross-border cooperation of Croatian, Slovenian, and Austrian project partners. General objectives are: digitize cultural heritage artifacts at risk and make them available to the public through the use of 3D and XR technologies. Create a toolkit for 3D and XR digitization. Offer online and on-site trainings for cultural heritage institutions and other stakeholders. 2 new collections on Europeana, one of Baroque sculptures by Francesco Robba and one of Baroque objects from Croatia and Slovenia, equalizing digitization across Europe. Specific objectives are: digitize 30 objects at risk from Southeastern Europe by Francesco Robba and other Baroque sculptors. Create AR experiences for 33D scanned objects. Create training materials and an app for learning about 3D and XR digitization. Upload the digitized objects to Europeana and collaborate with other relevant organizations. Reduce the physical impact and carbon footprint of cultural heritage preservation. The project contributes to the Digital Europe program by advancing the digital transformation of cultural heritage institutions and indirectly contributes to the European Green Deal by reducing physical impact and carbon footprint. Module 2. Tools. Overview of equipment and tools used for digitization. Equipment for scanning overview. Artec Leo Scanner. Artec Space Spider 2 Scanner. Canon R5 Mark II camera. Blackmagic Pixis 6K video camera. iPhone 15. Software overview. Artec Studio 19. Agisoft Metashape. Blender. Unreal Engine. Sketchfab. Axial Collections. Standards Overview. Object ID. Spectrum. Dublin Core. RCtoDC standards. Websites overview. RCtoDC website. Ursula website. Equipment for processing overview. Workstation 1. HP ZBook G10. Workstation 2. Lenovo ThinkPad P16 Gen 2. HP ProBook G6 450. Workstation 3. Acer Predator PH 1873. Lenovo Yoga Pro 9 16 IMH 9. Apple Mac Studio M2 Ultra. Storage Server Synology DS 923 Plus. Backup Server Synology DS 923 Plus. Godox SL 303. And other auxiliary equipment. Module 3. Templates. Template. A document used in electronic or paper media that has a predetermined page layout and style which can be edited to produce required finished document. A document template is a blueprint for generating document-style reports. The template defines what data is to be extracted from the data source and how this data is formatted in the output. Document templates are self-contained archive files with extension DTA Document Template Archive. Object ID template consists of 11 main categories of information: photographs, type of object, measurements, materials and techniques, inscriptions and markings, date or period, maker, subject, title, distinguishing features, and description. Object ID template consists of 5 additional categories of information: object ID number, related written material, place of origin, discovery, cross-reference to related objects, and date documented. Module 4. Tutorial. Purpose. This tutorial presents the completed RCtoDC digitization and digitalization process for 44 Baroque cultural heritage objects documented within the RCtoDC project. The objects originate from cultural heritage institutions in Austria, Croatia, and Slovenia, reflecting the project's transnational scope. The tutorial explains how the project was implemented, which digitization methods and tools were applied, and how the final results are structured and recorded within the Axial Collections database and the accompanying Excel documentation. The Excel sheet is not a preparatory instrument, but the final consolidated project record capturing all digitization activities, technical parameters, metadata, and digital outputs. This module therefore functions as a methodological explanation of completed work and a reference model for future EU-funded digitization initiatives. Multiple digitization methods were applied, selected according to object size, material, surface complexity, and accessibility. 3D scanning was applied to objects requiring high geometric precision, detailed surface representation, and accurate color capture. Photogrammetry complemented 3D scanning and was applied using smartphones, digital still cameras, and video cameras, depending on object scale, location, and access conditions. All scanner models, camera models, software versions, processing details, resolutions, and output formats are documented in the Excel sheet and linked to object records in Axial Collections. Each digital object underwent systematic validation to ensure complete and coherent geometry, accurate texture and color representation, and correct scale and proportions. Quality control outcomes are reflected in the final Axial Collections database and the Excel documentation. The RCtoDC project applied internationally recognized standards to ensure interoperability and reuse. Axial Collections software was used to aggregate object records across institutions and countries, link digital assets to structured metadata, Apply metadata standards consistently. Create the final project database. Enable interoperability with European data infrastructures. The Excel sheet mirrors this structure and supports data validation and cross-checking. Gallery of 44 completed digitized and digitalized objects within the RCtoDC project. St. John of Nepomuk, St. Leopold, St. Roch, St. Sebastian, St. Francis Regis, Immaculate Mary, Altar of the Holy Cross, St. Francis de Sales, St. Andrew the Apostle, Adoring Angel, Altar of the Holy Body, Fountain of the Three Carniolan Rivers, Charles VI, Marble, Adoring Angel, Altar of the Holy Body, St. Anthony of Padua, St. Bonaventure, a Kneeling Angel, a Kneeling Angel, Home Altar of the Annunciation of Mary, the Immaculate Conception, the Immaculate Conception, Mary Magdalene, Mother of God, the bust of a young saint, the bust of a young pilgrim saint, St. Donatus, St. Francis Xavier, St. John the Evangelist, St. John the Baptist, St. John of Nepomuk, St. Jerome, St. Paul, St. Paul, St. Stephen, kneeling, St. Zachary, Charles VI, clay, Adam, angel, Blessed Virgin Mary with Jesus, crucifix, Eve, cherub's head, cherub's head, Christ, Madonna, Module 5, Step-by-Step Video Training. Out of 44 objects, we chose object number 28, St. John the Baptist, as the object for presenting the step-by-step process of creating 3D and XR metaworks. In this example, we explored 5 different recording equipment for scanning and 2 software packages for processing recorded scans. The results of the processing are 6 different metaworks of the same object created by a combination of different equipment and software packages. The original object is part of the Baroque in Slovenia collection at the National Gallery in Ljubljana. We recorded the object with Artec Leo scanner. We recorded the object with Artec Space Spider 2 scanner. We recorded the object with Canon R5 Mark II camera. We recorded the object with iPhone 15 photo. We recorded the object with iPhone 15 video. We downloaded recorded scans from Artec Leo scanner, Artec Space Spider 2 scanner, Canon RS Mark II camera and iPhone 15 to computers for further processing. The software to support consists of different software packages listed in Toolkit's Module 2. Tools such as Artec Studio 19, Agisoft Metashape, Blender, and Unreal Engine. As a result, we produced 6 different metaworks of the same object. Metawork 1 geometry, texture, and color are created from recorded scans from Artec Leo scanner processed in Artec Studio 19 software. Metawork 1. St. John the Baptist. Metawork 2 geometry, texture, and color are created from recorded scans from Artec Space Spider 2 scanner processed in Artec Studio 19 software. Metawork 2 St. John the Baptist. Metawork 3 geometry is created from recorded scans from Artec Space Spider 2 scanner processed in Artec Studio 19. Texture and color are created from recorded scans from Canon R5 Mark II camera processed in Agisoft Metashape software. Metawork 3 St. John the Baptist. Metawork 4 geometry is created from recorded scans from Artec Space Spider 2 scanner processed in Artec Studio 19. Texture and color are created from recorded scans from iPhone photo processed in Agisoft Metashape software. Metawork 4 St. John the Baptist. Metawork 5 geometry, texture, and color are created from recorded scans from iPhone 15 photo processed in Artec Studio 19 software. Metawork 5 St. John the Baptist. Metawork 6 geometry, texture, and color are created from recorded scans from iPhone 15 video processed in Artec Studio 19 software. Metawork 6 St. John the Baptist. By applying presented digitization workflows, cultural heritage professionals are empowered to move confidently from raw collection to structured digital collection, supporting the long-term goals of the European Data Space for Cultural Heritage and fostering a shared digital future for Europe's cultural assets. Module 6. Real-life examples. Dissemination. Purpose. 5 of 44 objects created by RCtoDC project exhibited in Zvonko Stojevich Virtual Gallery in Teslaverse are not only exhibited but researched, played, reimagined, and preserved simultaneously in the real and virtual worlds of Teslaverse. It shows an example how maximizes return on digitization investment, reduces duplication of work, aligns with European data space for cultural heritage goals, demonstrates sustainable, scalable reuse, positions digitized 44 Baroque objects at risk from Southeastern Europe by Francesco Robba and other Baroque sculptors as a living digital ecosystem. Europe cares about its heritage. From raw collection to digital collection, RCtoDC is the project. The collaboration of European Commission and Croatia, Slovenia and Austria, coordinated by Ursula. The project digitized cultural heritage artifacts and make them accessible to the public using 3D and XR technologies by creating 3 new collections on Europeana, one of Baroque sculptures by Francesco Robba from 18th century, and 2 of Baroque objects from Zagreb City Museum, National Gallery of Slovenia, and City Museum of Ljubljana. The future begins by preserving the past. Get a Teslaverse state of mind out of first exhibition with the RCtoDC light. In Teslaverse, everything is preparing for the first virtual exhibition of RCtoDC digitalized Baroque collections. Europeana comes down to new reality, and it's fine with us because we are ready. Welcome to a first look at the unique virtual exhibition in preparation at the Zvonko Stojević Museum collection.
Naša kulturna baština je temelj naše budućnosti.
Module 7. Advice from consultants. Media production 100. Expertise, digitization workflows, 3D and XR production. Role in RCtoDC. Media Production 100 is a leading partner in the RCtoDC project and responsible for the development of the Toolkit. The organization contributes extensive practical experience in 3D digitization, scanning, photogrammetry, XR workflows, and production pipelines. Key areas of advice: planning and executing digitization workflows, equipment selection and setup, quality control of 3D assets, sustainable reuse of 3D data. Expert tip: focus on consistent workflows and documentation from the first scan to the final output to ensure long-term reuse. Ursula. Expertise, project management, standards, cultural heritage digitization. Role in RCtoDC. Ursula contributes expertise in cultural heritage digitization strategies, project coordination, and alignment with international standards. Their guidance ensures methodological consistency and interoperability across the toolkit. Key areas of advice: digitization planning and coordination, standards integration, documentation methodologies, institutional workflows. Expert tip: digitization is not only a technical task, but a strategic process that must align with institutional goals and standards. Collections Trust. Expertise, Spectrum Standard. Role in RCtoDC. Collections Trust provides guidance on the application of the Spectrum Standard, supporting structured collection management and documentation practices within RCtoDC. Key areas of advice: collection documentation, workflow standardization, long-term collection management. Expert tip: record decisions, processes, and responsibilities, not just outcomes, when digitizing collections. J. Paul Getty Research Institute and ICOM. Expertise, Object ID Standard. Role in RCtoDC. The Getty Research Institute and ICOM provide expertise on the Object ID standard, ensuring consistent object identification and traceability throughout digitization workflows. Key areas of advice: object identification, core descriptive metadata, international interoperability. Expert tip: a well-identified object is the foundation for research, protection, and reuse. Europeana. Expertise, Europeana, Data Model, EDM, Dissemination. Role in RCtoDC. Europeana supports alignment with the Europeana data model and best practices for aggregation and dissemination within the European data space for cultural heritage. Key areas of advice: metadata interoperability, data aggregation, open access and reuse. Expert tip: always separate master files from dissemination formats to ensure sustainability and reuse. Module 8. Best Practices. Purpose: Selection of the exact 3 best practice objects. Selection logic. The 3 best practices are selected to represent methodological benchmarking, same object, different methods, high value, research-grade digitization, scalable, resource-efficient digitization. This selection reflects real decision paths faced by cultural heritage institutions, not idealized laboratory conditions. Final selection. Best Practice Object 1, John the Baptist. Why selected? Same original object, 6 different metaworks, multiple capture technologies and software pipelines, unique comparative dataset. Represents methodological benchmarking. Best Practice Object 2, Altar of the Holy Cross. Why selected? High cultural and research value, professional-grade digitization, full documentation and metadata, suitable for conservation and scholarly use. Represents research-grade digitization, complex, high-value, sculptural or historical object. Best Practice Object 3, St. Stephen kneeling. Why selected? Digitized using smartphone or mid-range camera. Fast, affordable workflow. Suitable for mass digitization and dissemination. Represents scalable, inclusive digitization. Medium-scale object, digitized with accessible tools. Module 8, Best Practices, presents 3 complementary digitization approaches derived from the RCtoDC Toolkit implementation. Rather than promoting a single optimal method, the selected examples demonstrate how cultural heritage institutions can align digitization workflows with object value, intended reuse, and available resources. The best practices support evidence-based decision-making, scalability, and sustainability in line with the objectives of the European Data Space for Cultural Heritage and the Europeana Impact Playbook.